Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. And today's video I'm very excited about because I'm going to be going over probably one of my favorite writers slash manga creators, and that is Junji Ito. Junji Ito writes a lot of one chapter horror stories that relies a lot on the visuals more than the story. He's a very talented artist and his body horror is just amazing. Some of the stuff that he draws is just incredible. So, because of his success, a few years ago, an anime was made that was 12 episodes long, which covered 24 of his short stories. And I'm going to be going over all 24 of them, anime and manga, comparing them, saying what I like, what I didn't like, and things like that. Because the anime has a bad reputation, but after watching all of them, I can say that it wasn't all bad. A lot of them were okay-ish, a few were good, and some of them were just outright terrible, so I'm going to be going through all of them. So, without further ado, let's get right into the first episode. And the first chapter of the first episode is Suichi's Convenient Curse. And Suichi is a recurring character in the Junji Ito universe, and probably one of my favourites, mainly just because of how he's really smart, but he's a child, so he's really immature, so it makes for some really funny moments. And also, although he's evil, he always gets what's coming to him, and in the end, he always fails, which is good to see. But yeah, he's just one of my favorite characters, very funny. And the episodes that had him in were the best ones in this series, I can say. So basically, the story is about him in school who is doing curses like voodoo dolls, making sixth graders, I believe people would call them, grow moustaches and things like that. So it was quite a humorous episode, and of course it also had the visual horror that Junji Ito likes best in two big spiders and one little one that were drawn very, very, very scarily, in my opinion. So anyway, the manga, it's beautiful as always. The black and white just works so well for his style of art. And the big spider, and towards the end there's like a costume of a big spider. They're very scary. Like I couldn't even figure out what it was at first until I realized, oh, that's a spider. And also the spider costume. It was just like this like menacing figure. So it took a while to figure out what it was, but once it was, you realize that it was just Suichi, and then it makes it funny again. Also, I'm gonna try not to spoil all of these chapters completely, so I do recommend that you go and watch slash read them because they're very good. Anyway, moving on to the anime. I don't know why, but in this episode in particular, Suichi just looks off. I think it's because his skin is just like one color. I don't know. He just looked a bit weird. But apart from that, the voice actor of him is very good, and these episodes fit the animation style very well, I think. And up until the spider, it was a very good episode. It's just weird because that anime has like these things a lot of the time that don't match that animation. They're kind of like backdrops that are more detailed than what's moving. So it looks very weird, and it has a few of that. And also the chase scene was really weird. It went for like a piss yellow sort of overlay, and the costume wasn't scary. It looked more funny, but I think that actually matched the scene better. So well done. But yeah, this was a pretty strong episode, I would say, to start off with, and it was a long one as well. And then the next story was like a really, really short Junji Ito story. It's about 6 pages, and that one is called Hell Doll Funeral. So the story is about a girl and a lot of children over the world who are slowly turning into dolls, and a lot of the parents cremate them, but these parents don't, and over time the doll becomes more and more disfigured and scary looking. So the manga, very short, very good. The last panel is just incredible. As I said, it's a really short story, so there's not much to go on, but it is a really, really good picture that he's drawn, and it's probably one of my favorites, like full panel things that he's done. So moving on to the anime, it was okay. The only issue is at one point the dull PNG wasn't moved up correctly, so you can just see where the PNG cuts off. Um, which was quite funny, and also the really big detailed panel at the end wasn't as detailed as I'd like it to be. But to be honest, this one was better than a lot of the detailed panels that were done in other episodes, so I can't really knock it for that. You'll see later, but a lot of the ones in the anime, they kind of just really make it dark so that they don't have to do that much detail, and it just takes away from everything. But yeah, this episode was pretty good as well. Okay, so moving on to episode 2. The first story in this episode is Fashion Model, and this is about a fashion model who is rather strange looking and is hired by a young group of filmmakers. This is probably one of Ito's most famous monsters slash stories, so I was very excited to watch this one. So in the manga, it's sort of a human, but it's sort of not a human. And it's really unsettling to look at, and it just always gives this sense of eeriness, and you just know something bad is gonna happen, which I think is really cool as well. And also he expands upon this character in a few other chapters as well, including ones where it's not even about her, like she'll just make a cameo at the end or something like that, which is really cool. And one of my favorite short stories is called Fashion Model Cursed Frame, which is like a 6-page, I think, sort of add-on to this story here, which has a very scary panel at the end. But yeah, this is a very good one, and I'd rate it probably top 10 manga, that is. So the anime, it wasn't that bad, to be honest. It's just her. It's just the fashion model. I'm not sure why, but the monsters, the things that aren't human in this anime just look very strange most of the time. And also there's another PNG era where you can, see the top of her head, because why not? But yeah, the characters, they're fine. The voice acting is good. That's another thing. The voice acting throughout this is very good, like this whole series. But I feel like it loses some of the scariness when she's not as detailed as she was in the manga. But apart from that, it was okay. It was just it was enjoyable to watch. But I feel it was enjoyable to watch mainly because I like the manga so much. But yeah, moving on to the next story in this episode, and it's called The Long Dream, and this is about a sleep hospital. I'm not sure of the name of them, but basically there's this one patient who has this really weird sort of disease, illness. I don't know what you call it. Basically, he's been living longer in his dreams, so he'll wake up and he thinks a year has passed because it has in his dream. And he ends up, dreaming for thousands of years and evolves in front of the hospital staff, which is a very cool concept. And also a very scary visuals to go with that, which I was very excited for, going in watching the anime. But the manga, it just looks really good, and again, it really sort of draws the line where you call something human, where you call it a monster. All that body horror stuff, which is very cool. So moving on to the anime, um, it was okay. I mean, it was good, but all of the anime episodes are good. But the best part about the story being the monster and the disturbing scenes are always the worst part of the episode, which just brings the rest down. It's not like this for every single one, but a lot of them it's like this. And also some of the scenes look like they've been done in I don't know, 5, 10 minutes, where Junji Ito, he spends hours upon hours, writing one panel and things like that. But apart from that, I would say that this episode was okay-ish. Again, it was sort of the same as Fashion Model, where it kind of just fell a bit flat. But I still enjoyed it, I still enjoyed it. Moving on to episode 3, we have Boy at the Crossroads. And this is the first chapter of the Love Sickness story, which is a few chapters of a story. And it's about a crossroads which tells fortunes, but just something isn't right. It's it's cursed, basically. And the manga, This is very gory, this manga. The fog as well, because it's very foggy. It's done very well. I don't know how he does it, but he somehow managed to draw fog. But yeah, I really like this and how it's drawn out, and I think the gore, I guess you would say, is done very well as well. So that's really all I have to say on this because I want to get onto the anime. So, getting onto the anime, this is the best adaptation so far in the series. I really enjoyed this one. Like, all of the gore, it wasn't censored, it wasn't cut back, it was exactly like it was in the manga, but worse because, it's color. And it was very, very nice, and there wasn't any bad animation or anything like that. And also, they made like a few changes to the story, like here and there, like a slight change. But that was mainly because this is a really long chapter, and although that this is the main chapter for the episode, because they did in episode 1 where they have a really short one at the end, I feel like it really fit the pacing for the episode and things like that. But yeah, I really, really like this episode, and I was, at the time when I was writing this script, I was hoping that the rest would be like that, but I was a little bit wrong. So moving on to the next one in this episode, which is Slug Girl, and this is a short story about a slug girl, obviously. This is one of the first things I think I read by Junji Ito when I first got into him a few years ago. I think I read Slug Girl and The Human Chair. But anyway, the manga, even though it's only around 16 pages, it's probably one of the most famous stories, obviously, and it has one of the most famous panels or monsters, I guess you would say. This really shows how things can be really short, but they can also be really disturbing to the point where they're memorable as well, which is very cool. So the anime, not really much to say, to be honest. It's not too bad. It made the panel look decent and not bad like previous episodes. This episode, putting both of the short stories together, is very, very good, very solid, and it's the best one so far. And like I said, I want the rest of them to be like this. Episode 4. The first one is called Shiver, and the story is about a strange sort of illness that the main character is not sure if he imagined it or if it's real, and it sort of put holes all around your body and things like that. So the manga, this is just a very scary concept in general, and especially for people that have a fear of holes. I can't remember what's that called, but you definitely wouldn't enjoy this as much as I enjoyed reading it for the first time. But it's just a very sort of scary concept, especially when you get it into perspective, because it talks about how cold you are all the time, and how flies and bugs fly in and out of your holes and everything. It's just a very very unsettling. And the anime, it was average, this one. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, but I think they showed the holes well, and the animation was fine. I didn't really have any complaints about that. Again, this is just sort of one of the ones where I don't really have much to say on it because it was faithful to the anime and it wasn't terrible, which is all I'm really looking for at this point. And now moving on to one which I'm not sure how to feel about. I'm still really not sure how to feel about it, but anyway, it's a Marionette Mansion. And the story is about a family business with puppet shows, and when the father dies, they find out that the older brother who left them previously, he's a lot different than before. So the manga. This is one of the examples where I prefer the story for the visuals, because it isn't strong on visuals, it's more on ideas and concept and things like that. And I really just like this story so much. And I also like Jean-Pierre, who is this little doll. He's probably one of my favorite character in the whole story. But anyway, moving on to the anime. This was so good. This was just so good. But there's one thing that is dragging the rest of them down, and that is the page turner. So Junji Ito would have this really small sort of panel in the corner of a page, and then there's a really big full page panel of something really disgusting or gory or something like that. And the anime for some reason just has it. There's no build up. It's just there it is. Luckily for this episode, that panel wasn't that important compared to the rest of it. It still was important, and I still wish that they gave it some what do you call some suspense or something like that. But it was good. The voice acting was very good, and I think it told the story very well, even though it had to sort of be condensed down like a little bit to fit it in the episode. And the music as well was just brilliant. I really enjoyed that, and it was really creepy, things like that. But yeah, this was very good. A very good episode. And moving on to episode 5. First, we have the ongoing tale of Oshikiri. Oshikiri, I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm not sure. But anyway, the story is about a boy who lives in a castle that has sort of random gateways to like different dimensions. It's a really weird concept, but it's a very cool one at the same time. Okay, moving on to the manga. The drawings are especially scary in this one because it's sort of, again, I don't really want to spoil too much, but these monsters are sort of test subjects that were human once and have been sent through the portal into his house. So he just has like random, like deformed bodies just like crawling through his corridors and things like that. So yeah, it's a very cool episode and also like a very disturbing one at that. So the anime, this was very okay, and the animation was good throughout. The monsters were nice. The only thing that held it back again was the tension before a disturbing scene, which is quite sad. But yeah, the monsters on this one were done quite well, I would say. And I really enjoyed how this one was done. Again, they had to cut it down, I'm pretty sure, a little bit, just to make it fit in the episode, but it was very good. I enjoyed it, so that's all that matters. And next we have Cloth Teacher, and guess who's back? It's my favorite character. Suichi's back, and this time he's making life-size dolls of his teachers that and also I should say now, when I said earlier that Suichi was making them grow mustaches, I got that mixed up with this one here. I'm very sorry about that. But anyway, the manga, this is again less scary because it's a more of like a humorous one, but I still really liked it. And he is one of my favorite characters because he has like very dark humor in it, which is like my favorite thing ever. And his chapters always have like this sort of lightheartedness, but really dark aspect to them at the same time, which I really like. So yeah, this is a very good episode. And the anime. This was hard to mess up because of like how simple it was. And the only thing they didn't do is they like, cut a few pages because of the length, but the story still remained and I enjoyed this one very much. The voice actors again were very good and Suichi's one is just very funny. And whenever he's on screen, it's just a sort of it just makes me smile just because I really like his character and all that. But yeah, this was a very good one. Probably one of the best ones, or yeah, definitely the best one so far on this list. Next, we have probably the most infamous anime episode, mainly because of how not amazing it is. But anyway, this is episode 6, and the first story is Window Next Door. And this is about a boy who moves into his house, like with his parents, and there's a strange figure that is in the opposite window to his bedroom that is always calling out to him. So the manga, very, very, very good. The detail is just incredible, and I don't know how he managed to draw that, but you just sort of, when you read it, you sort of get stuck on the page, and you just like really look into like all the detail and everything, and it's just like a classic story in his short stories. This is one of the most popular ones again. And it ends on a cliffhanger, but that you can't really help but like smile at. But yeah, very, very good. I enjoyed this one. And the anime. Apart from the really, 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 really bad design of the main lady, the suspense was surprisingly good. Not in like a jump scare way, but like a shocking way. Which is really weird because the best tension was for the worst looking character so far, which is bad. But yeah, I wish that they just made all the bad tension in this episode just because it was bad already. But anyway, I'm really hoping that the other episodes can be good in both aspects. But yeah, if you just sort of, just look at the anime, you can tell that just not as much effort went into it, like the skin just doesn't look as detailed, it just looks like a texture and things like that. And again, they did the thing where they just like darken half the image to like hide it. But yeah, this was, okay-ish. And moving on to the next one, which is Gentle Goodbye. And this is about, it's sort of like a ghost story, I would say, that's about after images. And I really recommend that you read this one. I'm not going to spoil like anything from this one, because this one isn't scary. So even if you don't like horror, you can still read this one. It's just like a really nice sort of story. And the manga, this was another like really, really story-based one, like a lot. And it's a really like nice story. So it's more sad than scary, and I really recommend you read this one. So moving on to what the anime did, it had to cut a few scenes down again because just to fit it in. But there was literally like nothing wrong with this. It tells the story really well, and it has some like really good animation in it. I just really enjoyed this episode. Especially after Window Next Door, it was nice to have something that was more story based. The problem that people say about this is the monsters and things like that, but I believe that the animation studio, although they didn't do like an amazing job, they did a good job with everything else, just apart from the monsters. So I don't really know what other studios would have done with it because it will be really hard to animate, like the amount of detail that he puts into the panels. Okay, episode 7. Starting things off, we have used records. Used records? No, just use record. And the story is about a cursed record that gets sort of stuck inside your head, like that one SpongeBob episode. So the manga. This again was one of the first this was the first Junji Ito chapter that I read physical copy, and I really enjoyed it because it was scary and creepy without showing any sort of guts or gore, anything like that. But yeah, I believe this is the first chapter of Shiver, which is like the first physical copy of a Junji Ito book I got, and I don't really have any complaints about it because it's not terrible, it's not incredible, but it's still very, very good. It's hard to explain because I don't want to call it like average because it's more than average. It's like up there, but yeah, this one's very good. So moving on to the anime, this was, it was okay because there's no guts or gore or anything like that. It did a good job, but the only thing that made me not like it was the twist ending at the end. It really like puts a meaning to the story, and it makes you feel like you haven't just been dropped in to a random set of events, if you know what I mean. But the anime, I know that I rewatched the ending and I know that they tried to do it, but they made it so sort of not obvious. Like if I hadn't have read the manga and I just went and watched the episode, I wouldn't have known what the twist was. It's hard to explain without spoiling it, but it's something that the characters do, but they don't show the characters doing it, or they don't show the animated characters doing it. Like they're completely still. So it was just really weird to see how they completely butchered the twist ending. But apart from that, everything up until that point was good. So yeah. And now moving on to Town of No Roads. And the story is mainly about privacy, and this is a very long one. Not very long, but it could have been its own 20-minute episode instead of 10 minutes, which is one of the reasons it's very bad. So, the manga. This is a really good one. It's definitely in like my top 10, and I really enjoyed how it ends kind of on nothing, but in a good way, if that makes sense. It doesn't seem meaningless, but at the same time it does. And it also really captures the feeling of knowing like you're being spied on, or knowing that you don't have any privacy and things like that, which is really cool. So the anime, it was so fast paced, like they literally cut the first half of the story into about 3 minutes, which was just very bad. It was very disappointing and things like that, Like some really important scenes were under like 20 seconds with like no dialogue. All of it was cut. But the worst thing for me in this episode was, why was all of the gore censored? It was just all blacked out, and I don't know why, because it's not as if the anime can't show it, it showed it before. But it's even more stupid when you consider that this is like a horror anime. But it's just really weird. It's just like, imagine like if anyone's ever seen like Corpse Party, imagine like watching that, and then for some reason one of the episodes is just like completely blacked out, and then the next episode they're just not. It felt like that. It was really weird. But yeah, this is definitely one of my least favorite adaptations, and I can't really recommend you watch this one, to be honest. I recommend reading it, but definitely don't watch it if you want your perspective on this to just be ruined. Okay, so episode 8, starting things off with Honored Ancestors. And this story is about a boy and his dad who will always carry the weight and memories of their ancestors in a physical and a mental way. So the manga, this is one of the most memorable ones because this is probably one of the best examples of body horror and Junji Ito changing the body into something just like awful. And in my opinion, this is probably one of my favorite ones. I know I keep saying that about everyone, but a lot of these are just so good. My only hope is that the anime doesn't completely ruin it, but yeah, they probably will. Okay, moving on to the anime. The animation was very choppy at times, and the reveal again just wasn't good. And the scalps were done horribly. The things which I loved the most were destroyed right in front of my eyes, just with some bad texture, and just really dark it down until you can't see it. Also, the fact that they didn't even match the head which they were on, that was, that was also quite bad, but we'll just look past that. Yeah, I'd rather pretend that this one didn't exist. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to move quickly on to the better half of this episode, which was the circus comes to town. So the story is just about a circus that comes to town, obviously, but not everything is as it seems. So in the manga, this was a different type of story. I don't know how to explain it, it just felt different, it was weird. And I really enjoyed it, because it wasn't plot heavy or horror heavy. It was just very different to other stories. It's hard to explain, but it felt different while reading it. And also what actually happens is just a very cool concept as well, which is, it's kind of like if you've ever seen like a pantomime or like a circus where they like intend to go wrong and that's the joke. But this one didn't intend to go wrong, but everyone's laughing at it because they think that it's supposed to be going wrong. So the anime was very good. I really liked how they did this one, and the voice acting for the main circus guy was very good, and there's no monsters or mad gore again, which is why this one really succeeds at being a good adaptation. And there's no really bad animation, but I can't really expect everything to be at like 60 FPS, if you know what I mean. So it's just, you can really tell when some animation is more clean than the others. But I tried to just like ignore it. I only mention it on the episodes where it's out, where it's like it for most of the episode, or most of the episode is just characters standing still and things like that. But yeah, this one was very good and a very, very, very good adaptation. I really enjoyed this one, especially the music, because, like circus music is just creepy in general. But yeah, this was very good. Okay, so episode 9. Starting things off, we have Painter. And this is one of the chapters from Tomie, which is probably one of Junji Ito's most famous stories and characters, or long-running stories. And I'm pretty sure that this was the first appearance of her, and then he decided to make a whole sort of story about her, but I could be wrong. Anyway, in the manga, this is a good chapter, but it's not my favorite of the Tomie series, and it works well as like a short story because it basically like explains everything. So it could be a good one to animate if they do it correctly, and that's a big if, because there's a lot of detail in a few of these scenes. And if I've learned anything from the previous episode, it's that that's probably a bad thing. I'm not gonna go good, but I still have hope. So moving on to the anime, surprisingly good, to be honest. It was a very, very good ending scene. It had like a lot of gore and everything like that. It didn't censor any of it, which is the main thing. And also the painting at the end, that was really nice. I don't know why. I think it was because of like the colors they added to it. It looked really cool. But anyway, pretty good episode. There was like a few scenes where detail just wasn't there, but apart from that, I really enjoyed this one. I think mainly because of the end scene, and you know, like the things you see last is what you remember, and the end scene was very good. So yeah, I recommend you watch this one if you're a fan of Painter or Tommy. And next we have Blood Bubble Bushes. Blood Bubble. I can't say it. It's like a tongue twister. Blood Bubble Bushes. Okay, so the story, it's about a mysterious blood fruit and like sort of where they come from and what they do to people. The manga is like a decent one, in my opinion. It has like a very, very good panel, but the story I wasn't that much of a fan of. But the rest of it I thought was good. Yeah, that was about it. But the only thing I'm worried about is whether or not it's going to fit into 9 minutes, because again, it is it's quite a long one, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so as expected, the anime was very fast-paced, but I still enjoyed it, apart from like a few really weird looking scenes where like their faces were like, I don't know how to explain it, they were just really weird, but it was nothing compared to like the manga, because some of the panels in the manga are just like incredible and things like that. But still a pretty decent adaptation. You know, as I said, they had to change the story a bit to shorten it, which I think they did well. They did a good job of shortening it without making it seem like rushed like some of the other episodes. But yeah, pretty solid. Okay, episode 10, starting things off, we have Grease, and this is about Grease and other various disgusting things. One of my favorite and least favorite chapters of Junji Ito's collection, but I'll get into that in a minute. Basically, the manga is just incredible. It somehow manages to make everything like disgusting, if that makes sense. Like literally every panel is just, it just doesn't look good. And it's through the use of like shading, because he makes everything look like it's been covered in grease. I don't really understand entirely how he made that effect, but it's amazingly terrible is the best way to describe it. And I really hope that the anime can capture sort of this disgustingness too. It's sort of like the fog, but worse than fog, because it's like a must of grease and it's just not very nice to think about. Okay, so the anime was good. I really enjoyed it. It was disgusting, but that's as it should be, you know, it should be disgusting. Some parts were like just as good, if not better, than the manga, and that's mainly through the use of the sound effects they had, because there was like squelching and like slimy sounds, and it was just wasn't very nice. And also the coloring, it added more to the disgustingness sometimes. And apart from a scene where they messed up the animation and they made one person say like 3 different lines, so he was having like a conversation with himself until they animated the other person. Yeah, apart from that, it was very good, and the grease was incredible, I must say. And next on this episode, we have Bridge, and this story is just about a town which is like populated by ghosts, I guess you would say. And in the manga, this was pretty good, but it's pretty weak. I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy this one. But I can see why people would enjoy this. This just probably wasn't one of my favorite ones to read. But anyway, the visuals made up for it because, of course, they were very good. But the story, I think, fell a bit flat. And if the manga falls a bit flat on the story, the anime does as well. And speaking of that, moving on to the anime, it was pretty okay. The visuals weren't amazing, but apart from that, it was just okay. It was just bland. That's the word to describe it. I don't know. This is a weird one because it had one of like the best episodes and like one of the worst, so it just like puts it in the middle and things like that. But yeah, it was okay. That's all I can really say about it. Moving on to episode 11, we have Supernatural Transfer Student, and this is about a new student who is supernatural, strange, as the title would suggest. Anyway, the manga, this is a weird one. It's very different than other stories, like very, very different, but like in the themes, but I still enjoyed it. And for the anime, I hope that it takes up like most of the episode, as it's like quite a long story. Yeah, this one was just weird. It was just different. That's the only way to describe it. It wasn't bad. It was just very, very different. And if you've read it, you know what I'm on about there. It's very weird because Junji Ito normally does things which are semi-realistic, but this one is more supernatural and like lasers. It's just weird, but it's still quite enjoyable. It's like a bit of a bizarre one, but I like it a lot. Okay, the anime. This is a very rare case and probably the only time where I actually like the anime more than the manga. I just feel like the anime told the story a bit better, and that was because of more coloring and things like that. I feel like the characters just like looked the same, so it got confusing sometimes. And yeah, the story was told really well. Like I said, I enjoyed it more than the manga, which was weird. But again, that was probably just because of the colors and the animation was just good, you know? It was just solid. So I really, really enjoyed it, and it took me by surprise because I didn't really think I would because the manga was a bit weird. But anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And moving on to the last one, which is Scarecrow. And again, this is another sort of short one because the last one took up most of the episode. But this is about scarecrows that are starting to look a lot like people's dead relatives. The manga, this story, it doesn't really show anything disturbing. It's the idea which is, and I really love it for that. It's hard to say what I love more, seeing disturbing stuff or the idea being disturbing. But I think what it comes down to is the idea or what's shown. And Junji Ito, no matter what it is, it's always good for some reason. Even if it's the idea or what he's drawn, it's just very good and very disturbing. But again, it flipped the idea on its head and made you look at the episode from like another perspective, which I love. So I was really excited to, watch the anime on this one. And the anime, it was very good. Maybe could have been like a minute longer, but apart from that, it was very good, and I really enjoyed this episode. It was a very, very, very good episode. The only thing which I feel it didn't sort of expand upon is it's hard to explain without spoiling it, but it's sort of like a B story. And you only sort of spend time with them like right as the twist is about to happen, whereas in the manga you have like a whole other sort of scene with them in, and that makes it more impactful at the end. But apart from that, I really liked this one, and the twist was just as shocking watching it the second time round. But yeah, I really recommend reading this one because this one's really cool, and it's also very, very short, so it doesn't take long to read, like 4 or 5 minutes maybe. So yeah. Okay, so moving on to the last episode, which is episode 12. The first story in it is Smashed. And this is about a nectar that is suspiciously lovely tasting to the point where everything else isn't. In the manga, this was really good. I really enjoyed this one. The idea was crazy, but like in a good way, like usual. So the full page panels were even more impactful when you didn't know what was going on. And obviously they're very detailed as well, which again, I'm hoping that the anime does, as it's the last episode. Treat me, please. But anyway, this was very good. I really enjoyed it. The ideas were good, characters were good, everything else was. So let's move on to the anime. So in the anime, it was good. That's all I have to say. It was good, The characters were good, voice acting was good, animation was good. The full page panels were detailed, good. Everything was brought over from the manga to the anime, and it went well. It was just really good. That's the only way to put it. It was very good. The gore was good. Everything was good. I'm so happy that this was good, because this is probably like one of the best adaptations so far in the series. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. So moving on to the second half of this episode, my boy returns, Soichi in Rumors. Okay, so basically my friend is back and I love it. So in Rumors, the concept is so brilliant for his character because it's about spreading rumors. And if you think of Soichi, you're going to think that he's going to do some like voodoo black magic type of stuff to, spread his rumors. Do you know what he does? He just whispers to people while they're speaking rumors and then they get spread like that. which is just brilliant because you know that if he wanted to, he could definitely brainwash everyone into believing this, but he just spreads them like that. This is why I love him so much. But anyway, again, he's just very evil, but again, he always gets what's coming to him, which is very good as well. So, in the anime, it was done so good. I love this. This animation style really suits Suichi so well, and any episode with him in, I like it too. The voice acting again for him, very good, very very good. And overall, I believe this was the best episode so far. That's what I think. This was definitely a very good one. And also, there's a recurring character in this story, but I don't want to spoil it. So, episode 12, best episode so far. And it took all of the series, but yeah, it took all the series to get to a good episode, but it was worth it in the end. Okay, so just sort of an overview on everything. The episodes, they got better over time, and it was enjoyable overall. Even though all of the episodes weren't great, it was still fun to watch as I am a fan of Junji Ito. And if you are a fan and you've read a lot of his manga, I do recommend watching this just because it's good to see it in animation style for better or for worse. But I definitely had fun watching this, and also the ending to the anime, like the song, it's amazing. I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. It's like some like math rock. I just definitely wasn't expecting it. But yeah, apart from that, it was very good. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to rank all of them. I'm not taking into account the manga, and I'm not taking into account the episode. I'm ranking them based on the story, so their half of the episode. So, like I said, episode 12 was the best overall, but it might not have the best two stories, if that makes sense. So, I'm ranking them just based on their part alone. Coming in last place, we have Window Next Door. I've said what I wanted to about this, it just wasn't good. Then after that, we have Hell Doll Funeral. Because this was short, this suffered a lot because of the anime and also that really bad PNG. Then after that, we have Honored Ancestors. I put this here out of spite for ruining one of my favourite panels, to be honest. After that, we have Bridge. Personally, I just found this one a bit boring. After that, we have Town of No Roads. Like I said, this one completely butchered the manga and was very unenjoyable. After that, we have Blood Bubble Bushes. There, I said it right. Again, I did enjoy the manga and the anime, but it just wasn't there for me. I don't know how to explain it. I just didn't feel it was as strong as the others. After that, we have Fashion Model. I've already said what I wanted to on Fashion Model, and the really bad PNG as well. After that, we have Slug Girl. Again, this is sort of the same problem as Hell Doll Funeral. It's just like too short to be as good as some of the others. And after that, I have The Long Dream. Again, I really liked the manga in this one, but the anime just fell flat for me, and that's why I've placed it this low. After that, we have Shiver. Shiver was good. This was like a very middle good one, I would say. Like a very solid, average, good episode. After that, we have Supernatural Transfer Student. Like I said, I enjoyed this one more than the manga, but yeah, this was still a pretty solid one. After that, we have the ongoing tale of Oshikiri. I still don't know if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I am. Yeah, this one was very good as well. I really like the monster design on this one. After that, we have Gentle Goodbye. Like I said, this was just a very good sort of animated one and a very good story. After that, we have Used Record, and I know I said I didn't like this one, but if I just take into account not the ending, the rest of it was very good, and I enjoyed it a lot. After that, we have The Circus Comes to Town. Again, this was just a very good adaptation, and the whole music, voice acting really added to it. After that, we have Greased. This was just so good. I loved the Greased adaptation so much. After that, we have The Boy at the Crossroads. This was a very good one, like I said, with the gore and everything. It really stayed faithful to the manga. After that, we have Smashed, which again was a very good adaptation. I liked all the design in that one. After that, we have Marionette Mansion. I got over that one bad thing and looked at the rest of the episode for what it was, and it was a very, very good episode. After that, we have Scarecrow. I really enjoyed this one, and I don't really know why. I really liked it. I really liked like the concept of it, the idea of it, and all that. But yeah, this one was very good as well. So after that, I've put Painter, and I've sort of just ignored the one or two bad things that it had and looked at it for the rest of it, which was again very solid. And I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to look at these from their best aspects rather than their worst aspects. After that, I have Suichi's Convenient Curse. Again, I've said what I wanted to on this one. It's just Suichi. If he's in it, it's probably going to be my favorite. After that, we have Cloth Teacher. Again, a Suichi one. And after that, in number one place, we have Rumors, which is another Suichi one. Can you tell that the episodes with him are my favorite yet? But anyway, if you have seen all of this, let me know what you think of my opinions and maybe what you thought different or other things which you found good/bad about the anime. I'd really like to hear it. But apart from that, this is all I really have to say on it. It was solid. Overall, it was solid, like I've said, and I enjoyed watching it. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing because I got the Disturbing Movie Iceberg Part 2 coming out soon. I'm getting more into that, mainly because I was doing this video and Disturbing Movie Iceberg at the same time, so it sort of slowed it down a bit. But now that I've finished this, I'm back onto watching like 2 movies a day. And I'm not that far off it, to be honest. I'm like a week off, I would say. So yeah, very excited for that. Also, join Discord, follow me on Twitter, things like that if you just want to like keep updated with what I'm doing and things like that. But as I said, I hope you enjoyed the video and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.